What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the channel. So I got this comment right here from Mauserwaffen892 asking me if I can explain how I learned to shoot and the certain techniques and all that other kind of stuff. And I said, sure. And I'm sorry, I'm just getting around to it. I know it's been like 3-4 months, but we're doing it today. So, caveat, I am not telling you how you are supposed to shoot. I'm telling you how I was taught to shoot. When I was in my prime of my shooting, mid-20s to mid-30s and right in there, when you're in your 20s and you're in the best shape of your life and your eyes are the best and you're learning, when you really get into competition, especially competition shooting, you're trying to gobble up everything you can. There was a point where I was helping run and shoot 2 IDPA matches a week and then shooting USPSA once a month at the same time. So I was doing lots of shooting back in the day, early 2000s and stuff like that. And that's where those were the formative years of my shooting and how I was taught to shoot. And it kind of is the dot on you. And it kind of still, works for me today. I haven't kept up with all the trends. Now, sometimes you have to adjust when there's technology that comes out like red dots, because I've explained a lot of other videos. Obviously, I grew up on irons. And we'll explain all that. I'll demonstrate how I was taught to reload. And a lot of these things are done on purpose with efficiency and speed and accuracy in mind. Now, you could poo-poo them and do it any way you want. I don't care. That's your business. I'm just saying maybe this will help somebody. Maybe you could try it out. I don't know. It's up to you. I'm just telling you how I was taught, and I still use a lot of it today because it makes sense. So, first up, we'll start with the auto pistol and the whole thumbs forward and all this other kind of jazz. And it's specifically 1911s. Now, this is a double stack 1911. I know everybody's like, it's 2011, but 2011 is just a marketing term made up by Staccato. Matter of fact, they trademarked it. So this is not a 2011 Staccato. This is a double stack 1911, chambered in 9mm. Now, when it comes to grip specifically, my grip does not change based on the gun, usually, unless it's where some kind of control and I'm bumping it and all that other kind of stuff. The only difference typically is with the thumb safety on a 1911. Now, there were several reasons why I was taught back in the day to keep my thumb on top of the thumb safety on 1911s. One, it's to help control recoil a little bit, okay? And two, the main reason was a lot of people newbies especially, that will shoot 1911s, when they're firing under recoil, they'll go bang, bang, because they've accidentally flipped the safety on. I have seen it happen before. That's a real thing. So if you keep it on top, you'll never accidentally flip it on, and you help control recoil a little bit. Now, the thumbs forward thing, where people are like, I've heard people be like, we shoot the thumbs forward. Couple reasons why I do that, why I was taught to do that. One, we can all naturally point, right? If I say, point at that 3-inch shoot and see, you're going to look over, your eyes are going to find what I asked you to point at, and you're going to point right at it within an instant. If I say point at something, you're going to take your pointer finger. Remember, we were kids, they're like, that's your pointer finger. And you're going to point right at it. And you'll be damn close to pointing right at it. Same thing with your thumb, okay? That's one of the reasons. If I say point at something with your thumb, you're going to angle your hand down and you're going to point at it. I could point. Humans can point with their thumbs. Point right at you. So, when I'm naturally pointing at you, that's one of the reasons. I'm pointing at the target in a general sense. I'm not pointing exactly where I'm going to hit. I'm not using my thumb to aim like that. But if I'm looking at a target and I want to point right at it, see, I'm pointing my thumb right at you. So I turn my wrist down to where this is, and my thumb's flat, and I try to keep it just like that and point. Get a gross point at the target. Now, when you're gripping this pistol like this, now all this was the way I was taught, you have this whole huge empty space right here you have to fill up. And you put your other hand in there and you try to lock the pistol in tight. Now, this is to help control recoil for fast and accurate follow-up shots. If you are Bullseye shooting, this is different. You're talking about for combat shooting and competition shooting. If you're doing like bullseye shooting, they'll do one-handed. They got different stances. They got different ways to do the stuff, okay? This is how I was taught to do mostly competition and, you know, defensive shooting. But you want to help control recoil. That's the key. Control recoil for fast and accurate follow-up shots, multiple shots. So that's one of the reasons I was taught, because you're naturally going to point with your thumb, all right? Whoop, you're going to come right up and point at the target with your thumb. Also, I was taught back in the day, you know, really roll your shoulders in. Early on, I used to be like, turn my elbows out and really roll my shoulders in. And why is that? Because your elbow is a hinge. If I'm like this and everything's all loose and you fire, you're going to get recoil. Boom, maybe we'll try that. And I was taught, if you're like this, where's the gun going to reach? It's basically just your wrists. That's going to, if you don't hold those straight, you're going to break. You're not going to get this type of stuff, this hinging effect, okay? So that's basically how I was taught to shoot auto pistols. I was also taught front sight focus. You always, always, always look at your front sight. Your front sight should be perfectly clear. Your rear sight should be a little bit blurry, and the target should be a little bit blurry. If you're shooting with irons, past decade or so, especially in the past 5 years, these things are almost mandatory on handguns, especially semi-auto handguns. And I've resisted it because I'm an old dude and iron sights work for me, but my eyes are failing and there is a definite advantage to these. I still like iron sights. I'm still going to practice with iron sights. My carry guns still have iron sights. But there's a definite advantage to these. Now, if you look at all the instruction, all the other stuff, they are recommending, all the top shooters, dot guys, competition dudes, they recommend a target focus. So instead of looking at the dot in here, you're going to look at the target where you want your shots to hit, okay? So that's the basic rundown of how I do want to discuss though real quick, and then we'll get shooting. I know I've been talking for a long time. Reloading. Now, also when I was taught to reload, in your mag pouches, bullets go forward for pistols, because when you grab it, you want to grab the rib with your index finger. You want to hold the magazine just like this. So your magazine, you won't be able to see it here, but your magazine is, if it's on your 90, it's bullets facing forward. If it's right in front of you, still bullets facing that way. Do not turn the magazine back this way, because then you're fumbling and you're trying to get like a mag like this. And you'll see police, and I'm not, you know, ripping on police, but you could clearly tell they have not been trained because their magazines are backwards, or they haven't done enough training for themselves in certain circumstances. But I was taught bullets forward, you grab the mag like this, front finger down the front rib of the mag, and when you're coming up, it just feeds right in. And that one fell out. Feeds right in. Okay? So, and that proves you got to give it a bump, especially if the slide is closed. So, that's how I was taught to reload auto pistols. Rifles are different. Revolvers are different. So, we got this sucker loaded up. Just gonna fire a few rounds. I'll get the grip. Take the safety off so we're controlling recoil a little bit. Also, they used to teach back in the day like isosceles where you're standing square. Now you kind of have your opposite foot forward. That's how I'll shoot. We'll just shoot a couple of rounds like that. So that's not bad at all. This one does shoot a little bit low because it's sighted in for 15 yards. We're at about 5 now, so we're going to get a little bit low on that. Looks like I might be shooting a little bit right. I might got to come back a couple clicks left. So that's how I was taught to shoot and reload. Again, coming up, shoot and reload a semi-automatic pistol. Let's switch over to the revolver. All right, folks, how I was taught to shoot a revolver. We have the Smith & Wesson 686 Plus. The plus indicates an extra round. So this revolver, in fact, does hold 7 rounds. We got it loaded with 7 rounds of 158 grain 38 special. Now, you're going to see some reviews where I'm holding the revolvers in what I consider the wrong way. You got to understand something. I come out here sometimes and I film, depending on how nice it is, and it's a beautiful day today. This is my 4th or 5th video I'm out here filming today because I got to take advantage of the weather. I'll be out here filming half a dozen videos or more sometimes, and they'll involve lots of auto pistols and some revolvers. And I didn't even know until I was editing some of these videos that I'm holding the revolver like this, auto pistol style, when you should be doing this, okay? So normally, if I'm doing it the right way and I'm paying attention and I'm not shooting a bunch of guns, I shoot revolvers like this. I take my support hand and cover up the thumb on my strong hand and shoot like that, okay? That's how I was taught, and that helps control recoil instead of doing this type of stuff, because especially big bore, it resists it popping out of your hand. Now, why do a lot of revolver shooters shoot this way? Instead of, like, if you're shooting the thumb forward, cylinder gap, flame comes out of there. Depending on the gun, especially if you're up high, you can cut your thumb from that. So you want to stay away from the end of the cylinder, all right? So thumb over thumb type of grip like that. Now, when we reload, I'm going to shoot some rounds, and then I will show you how I was taught to reload. I don't have speed loaders for this, but I can show you the competition way, and then like in real life, the kind of way you want to make sure you get them out, because cases will stick, especially with 357 Magnum. So let's just take some shots with this, with the thumb over thumb grip like this. All right, we fired our 7 cartridges. We're gonna kind of cradle the revolver like this. Now, this is weird because I'm having to do it up here when normally when you do it, watch the way Jerry Michalik does it, man. That's the best, especially for competition. They drop it down towards their belt. You're gonna push it with this one. You're going to pop this side of the cylinder out with this hand. So you're cradling it with both. You pop it out with that hand. You're going to, let's see, cradle it with this finger, turn it upside down. All right, so you're cradling this gun like this. Turn it upside down, pop it with your thumb. So, and you're cradling 2 fingers on the cylinder, and you're pushing them out. You're bringing the gun down to your waist as you're taking your speed loaders, putting them in, and then you close it again and go back to shooting. Now, in competition stuff, you want your speed loaders on your right side, and that's a big place I see people make mistakes with loading revolvers, especially with like speed strips or single loading them. That's a fine motor skill to try to put little bullets to try to line up the holes, and you're doing it with your left hand, which is not, if you are right hand dominant. If you're a righty, which like 90% of the world is, whatever your strong hand, your dominant hand, you want to do it with that hand, because you're doing fine motor skill type of stuff to put the ammunition in there, and you don't want to be, I've seen people that are trying to load it with their, no, don't, just hold the gun like this, load it, close it, back to shooting. All right, so that's how. Now, what I was saying, in the real world, you'll see channels like Gun Sam Revolver, love his channel. He will turn the gun over and pop it. Why does he do that? Because in the competition realm, a lot of people that shoot revolvers in the competition realm or game will shoot, when they're shooting revolvers, they will shoot 38 Smith & Wesson, which is a very short case, and you don't need a lot of powder, so you're not getting the expansion and stuff like that. And this ejector rod is plenty enough to clear those little cases. And as you saw with 38 Special, you know, it did clear them. Now, with 357 Magnum, when you push like this, sometimes there's a case that will get stuck in there and it'll stay in there. And then you're trying to do that and it's too late. If you pop it real hard, it'll shoot those cases out. Because the more you shoot this, obviously the more dirty they get, the chambers get full of gunk, and you'll get cases start to stick, even with 38 Special. So in real world, I would say pop that sucker. Give her one, turn it over. In competition, you turn that sucker upside down and you just thumb it and they'll pop right out, especially if you're using the 38 Smith & Wesson little shorty cases. So that's how I was taught to shoot a revolver. Now let me show you how I was taught to shoot a rifle, specifically an AR-15. All right, folks, how I was taught to shoot rifles. Again, just like the other ones, in a competition or defensive situation, okay? Now, first thing, let's talk about magazines. On the pistols I mentioned earlier, you want the magazines like this, bullets forward. Rifles, I was taught you want bullets backward, whether it's in a chest rig like this. In that case, you want the bullets going to the left, if you're right-handed, by the way. Or in competition, they'll usually put them on at 90 on the side of their waist. You want bullets backwards. That is so when you grab the mag, you got your monkey grip on it, what they used to call the monkey grip. Grab that sucker like this to insert. It's awkward if you're doing it the way, like, because it's such a big mag and you're trying to get it in the way that I do with pistols. You've got so much extra mag up here. Grab it like this, insert the mag hard, reach up, hit the bolt release. Now, on AR-15s, you know, back in the day when I was in the military, late 80s, early 90s, they were like, you just slap that sucker. Well, your hand can cup around it and it can't work sometimes and you're sitting here slapping it. I was just taught, go up in there, hit that sucker, do that. It's the same thing for reloads, even if you're not, if your bolt's not locked back, still just use that monkey grip style here. Now, if you'll see in some of my videos, the way I shoot AR-15s, I will keep my hand, my sport hand forward, and what am I doing right here? I'm pointing. I'm getting that gross point towards the target, because we all know how to naturally point at a target. I'm looking across my field here. If there was an antelope or something, I'd say, hey, look at that antelope, and I'd point right at it. Your eyes would go to that antelope. You point your finger, telling somebody. You naturally could come up and point at something, okay? And then you align your sights. Now, on AKs, you'll see on my channel, I'll just tuck this thumb over to the side usually, because of the way the sights are for irons. And then if I'm shooting like a traditional mil-serp rifle or what back in the day, I'll just kind of go under like a, you know, like they did back in the day with the old school, because a lot of this was set up for that. That's one of the reasons that they bring all this, the rail system all the way out here. Yes, there's a bunch of other reasons, so you could tack shit all over it, D-balls, lights, lasers, NVG, all kinds of stuff, right? But also the other benefit is you can get some support stuff. Now, again, a lot of that is, this stuff is a lot more beneficial, this type of stuff, if you're doing like a CQB or a close, you know, you'll see people in real war, a lot of them, they'll just do mag grabs and they're kind of looking and they'll just fire, or they're just kind of out there lazily, you know, you'll see that type of stuff. But this is the way I was taught to do competition stuff and, you know, defensive type of stuff. So that's one of the reasons you'll see me point with this hand. And the way I shoot, my stance is not squared up at the target. My left foot is forward, my right foot is back a little bit, and I'll just come up. And we are out of bullets. So that is typically how I will run a semi-automatic rifle. Specifically, most of them are AR-15 pattern or AK-47 pattern. Now, I also want to talk about, let me go put this down and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, a lot of this stuff is maybe old by today's standards. There's probably newer techniques. Some of it still applies, I think, in the competition world and the defensive world. You get a lot of stuff that gets outdated, especially as equipment comes up. But a lot of this stuff is from the old guys that were developing this stuff. You got to understand, before Jeff Cooper and a lot of these other guys came around, which is he's widely considered like the father of combat shooting. You kind of just stood there in your competitions, or they would teach the Army guys to one hand, a 45 out. You can see the old videos and stuff. I mean, they do some rolling around and some of this other kind of stuff. But before that, there wasn't really a solidified concept of the whole thing. So I know stuff progresses, and I'm just showing you as was Mauserwaffen, as how I did it, how I was taught. Maybe it'll work for you. Maybe some of you older guys still do it the same way. It still works great for me because I'm not out there running around having gunfights every day, and it helps me accomplish what I need, like controlling recoil, get my accurate and fast hits on targets. I didn't touch on it, I don't think, and I wanted to real quick. When it comes back to shooting the pistol, you'll see a lot of people that are shooting like this with their thumbs up, okay? I'm not saying that's bad. If it works for you, keep on doing it. There's a couple reasons why I don't do it. One, if you, out of your peripheral vision, I can see that big ass thumb sticking right in the way, and it's distracting. And also, your hand, if your hand is like this, you're controlling the heck out of that gun. If you're like this, and again, if it works for you, that's fine. The reason I don't do it is a couple reasons, because I can get really deep, especially with undercut trigger guards, the thumb to point, and I can get really deep in that gun, and my thumbs are out of the way. If they were up like this, now I'm looking at the dot, but damn it, in my peripheral, I could see those thumbs, and they're just distracting. So that's what that is. So, Mauserwaffen, everybody else, I hope that you enjoyed this video. That is how I was taught to do it. I'm just going to continue to do it because it works, unless I see some super flashy new way. And I don't really have time to relearn it. So I just keep doing it the way I do it. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.